Once upon a time, you used to see sitcoms on TV all the time. Dating all the way back to the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, all the way through the 2000s. You don't really see them as much nowadays, but they were once dominating TV stations. So a sitcom is short for a situational comedy. It's basically based on a recurring cast of characters involved in humorous situations that are trying to get the audience to laugh. That's what a sitcom is. So, in this video, I will be going over my top 30 black sitcoms of all time that was with a predominantly black cast. And before anyone says anything about, oh, well, why you couldn't just do the best sitcoms? Why do you have to base it off race? Unfortunately, we live in a world where race will always be an issue. People just gravitate to what they're more comfortable with, especially like being entertained by, because representation matters. Like, if you go to just random black people and you ask them, okay, tell me your 3 favorite Friends episodes, or your 3 favorite Seinfeld episodes, or your 3 favorite Frasier episodes, Cheers, Just Shoot Me, Golden Girl. Like, me personally, I grew up just watching TV. Like, it didn't matter what the show was, predominantly white shows, predominantly black shows. I watched both of them. But that's not the same. Just like a lot of black people I know didn't watch Seinfeld. I watched Seinfeld. I watched Friends. Just like a lot of white people didn't grow up watching like Martin and Fresh Prince and Living Single and Living Color and stuff like that. Again, it's all about representation. People gravitate to what they're more comfortable with. Though this has nothing to do about like racism or anything like that. This is just going off what me growing up, the people I grew up with, what we discussed, what we watched, and I'm basing it off that. This is my top 30 black sitcoms of all time. Your list may be different from mine. I'm pretty sure it is, because this is just my opinion. So with that being said, I'm going to jump right into it. At number 30, I have Kenan and Kel. So if you grew up in the 90s, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Who loves orange soda? Kel loves orange soda. I feel like Kel could have been bigger than what he was. Kenan is doing this thing now, but I always found Kel funnier. They were on Nickelodeon. At number 29, I have Eve. Eve was on UPN, which I miss UPN. I wish they still would have kept UPN. But Eve was a good show. I enjoy watching Eve growing up. So I got Eve at 29. At 28, I got What's Happening. So What's Happening appeared in the 70s on ABC. I didn't really watch too much of What's Happening, but I know what it means to like other black people. So that's why I put it on the list. But again, I didn't really watch it. At number 27, I have 227. Now, 227 I did grow up watching. Came on NBC. It was like Jackie Harry, Marla Gibbs. So they did their thing on 227. I enjoyed watching that. At number 26, I got One on One with Flex Alexander and Colin Pratt. It was Daryl Bell, I think. Was it Daryl Bell? But yeah, this came on UPN. I remember this growing up watching One on One. At number 25, I have Smart Guy. Smart Guy ad on WB with Taj Mari, Jason Weaver, Omar Gooding, Essence Atkins. I never knew the dad's real name, but Smart Guy, I enjoy watching Smart Guy. At number 24, I got Malcolm and Eddie. Malcolm and Eddie, I loved watching Malcolm and Eddie growing up. And it feels like I saw an interview with Eddie Griffin a few years ago where he was talking about the reason why Malcolm and Eddie really didn't last as long is because Malcolm Jamal Warner was used to the Cosby Show, and he thought everything had to be perfect, attention to detail. So him and Eddie would get into it all the time because I guess Eddie wasn't as professional as Malcolm Jamal Warner, because you got to remember, Malcolm Jamal Warner had been doing this since he was young. And Eddie Griffin also said that most of the writers were white and they didn't understand how to write jokes for black people. And he said it was a hard time getting things into the script and stuff because you got a team full of white writers trying to write for a black comedy. But yeah, you can go find that interview on YouTube somewhere, but I saw that a couple of years ago. At number 23, I have In the House with LL Cool J, Alfonso Ribeira, Mia Campbell, and Kim Wayans. It started with season 1 was with Debbie Allen and her son and her daughter Mia, and they moved into LL Cool J's house. But then I guess something happened where Debbie Allen left. And then it just went on from there. At number 22, I have The Game. The Game was at its best when it was on the CW. When it was on the I feel like The Game could have at least lasted. They brought it back. But once it got to BET, it just got horrible on BET. Tasha, you look at Tasha Mack, prime example. Tasha Mack went from not being able to keep a man when it was on the CW to once it got on BET, she was juggling dudes. She had a whole bunch of people, a whole bunch of men when it went to, and then they changed the format to more of a drama type show instead of the sitcom format. And it just didn't work for me. So I don't even remember watching when they brought it back. I don't even think I watched that. They just changed it. Once Pooch Hall and Tia Mowry left, the show went downhill after that. At number 21, I have My Wife and Kids with Damon Wayans, Tisha Campbell, raising 3 kids. It aired on ABC from 2001 to 2005. My Wife and Kids was a good show. They had a great cast of characters. At number 20, I got Sister Sister. Sister Sister may be higher on some people's list. I enjoyed Sister Sister. That was with Jackie Harry, Tia Mowry, Tamara Mowry, and Tim Reed. It started on ABC, then they switched it. It didn't last on ABC. Then it ended up going to WB. But Sister Sister was a good show. At number 19, I have Rock. Rock was a really good show that I don't feel gets enough credit for the issues that it dealt with. It starred Charles Dutton and his family. He was a garbage man. And it aired on Fox from 1991 to 1994. At number 18, I had Parenthood. The Parenthood was a good show. 1995 to 1999, aired on the WB. It had a lot of young, talented actors and actresses in it. At number 17, I got Hanging with Mr. Cooper. Some people may have Hanging with Mr. Cooper probably top 15. I got it at 17, which I feel is a respectable position compared to the other shows I have above it. It was Mark Curry with Holly Pete, and Raven Simone, and it aired from 1992 to 1997. Mr. Cooper was a teacher and a basketball coach, and it dealt with real life issues, gun violence, stuff like that. So if you get a chance to check out some episodes of Hanging with Mr. Cooper, make sure you do that. At number 16, I'm going to go with The Parkers. The Parkers was a spinoff of Moesha. Supposedly, I guess Brandy and Countess Vaughn had some kind of falling out. So, I guess it was irreconcilable differences. So, Countess Vaughn ended up getting her own spinoff, which turned into The Parkers with her and Monique. But the Parkers was a good show. It lasted for at least like 6 years. So that they had the Parkers had a good run, and then it was basically going head to head with Moesha. At the number 15 spot, I got the Bernie Mac show. Bernie Mac, to me, I feel like especially like black people, it's probably in most black people's top 5 comedians of all time. Because it don't matter what Bernie Mac do, it's just gonna be funny because it's him. Like Bernie Mac is just naturally funny to me. So I just feel like whatever Bernie Mac is in, it's gonna be golden. I wish we could have seen like Robin Harris and Bernie Mac together in like multiple movies, but unfortunately both of them passed away. But yeah, the Bernie Mac show it's legendary, especially for a lot of people. Some people probably have it higher on their list, but I got it at number 15 on my list. At 14, I have the Wayans brothers. I feel like a lot of people may have this probably in their top 10. The Wayans brothers was super funny with Marlon Wayans and Sean Wayans and John Witherspoon. They had like several different guest stars on there. The Wayans brothers, they aired on the WB from 95 to 99. Definitely a legendary show, especially like legendary black sitcom. So that's why I got the Wayans brothers as my number 14. At my number 13, I have the Steve Harvey Show. Yeah, I know some people, man, you crazy. The Steve Harvey Show wasn't better than the Bernie Mac Show. I'm going to have to disagree on that. I found the Steve Harvey Show better than the Bernie Mac Show and the Wayans brothers. And I feel like that was with like Wendy Raquel, Cedric the Entertainer, Steve Harvey. But unfortunately, I feel like we were robbed with the Steve Harvey Show because tragically, Merlin Santana was killed at such a young age. Like somebody shot him. He was like, there was he was with some girl and her boyfriend ended up shooting him. I don't know if they set him up, but I don't know what it was. But he got killed at a very young age. And I feel like Merlin Santana, just like kind of like how Tupac, I feel like both of them would have had great careers if they wouldn't have died so young. Because Merlin Santana was really young. He was only he was born in 76, died in 2000, got shot in 2002. He was 26 years old. So yeah, he died at 26. Tupac died at 25. So both of them, I feel like, would have had a great career had they not been murdered. Like, they would have been in more movies, more TV shows. It's just sad that, like, both of those young dudes were, like, taken away through violence. Like, over just... Life is too precious for people to be killing people over just, like, nonsense type stuff. That's just the way that I look at it. At the number 12 spot, I am going to go with Moesha. Moesha aired on UPN from 1996 to 2001. It was Brandy Norwood, Ray J. Speaking of young actors, tragically, Hakeem, the one that played Hakeem, Lamont Bentley, he died in like a car accident at a young age. I felt like he would have been in more movies and TV shows. Moesha was a good show. I felt like they ruined it when they tried. Frank was already. It was already enough liking Frank for some people when he and Dee got married, and Moesha, she thought he was replacing her mom and stuff like that. But then they turned around and made Frank the bad guy, making it so he cheated on his wife. Like, nah, that, like, once you do something like that, it's really no going back from that. So once they made that decision to do that and bring Ray J in and go from his nephew to his son, you kind of lost a lot of viewers with that, because you didn't have to, like, why? You could have just kept him as your nephew. Why did you have to do that? Like, a lot of people felt like they went overboard with that. So I feel like that's what ended up killing Moesha when they decided to make that decision, because I feel like that was really stupid. At the number 11 spot, I have Girlfriends. Tracy Ellis Ross. Girlfriends was a good show. A lot of people, it aired on UPN. Then when UPN went under, they merged with the CW. It aired from 2000 to 2008. A lot of people feel like Girlfriends really didn't get a proper, like, finale send off, like, especially since they were on for 9 years. You would think, okay, at least give them a series finale, like a closer where, okay, everything is tied up. But a lot of people feel like Girlfriends never got that. I didn't like how Maya ended up cheating on her husband. Lynn was always my favorite. She reminded me of Freddie from A Different World. The, like, laid back hippie type character. But that, yeah, Lynn, I didn't like Tony. I did not like Tony. Maya was alright. Joan could be alright sometime, but Lynn and Maya was my favorite. But again, I didn't like when Maya cheated on her husband. Now we're getting into the top 10. At number 10, I have the Jamie Foxx Show. So again, some people may have this probably like top 7 or top 6. I got it at top 10. I got it at number 10. The Jamie Foxx Show kept you laughing. And it allowed Jamie Foxx to really show his talents with the acting and the playing the piano and the singing. Like, Jamie Foxx, like, it's certain people who are just a jack of all trades. Like Michael Jackson, Chris Brown, Prince, Jamie Foxx, where they can just do so many different things. And it's just, they just, like, have so much talent that they can just do a multitude of things. So the Jamie Foxx Show is definitely legendary, in my opinion. Some people may have Jamie Foxx Show like top 5. I don't think I'll go that high as putting the top 5, because I feel like at least like the top 3, most people, especially like black people, can universally agree on the top 3. But I got Jamie Foxx as the number 10 black sitcom of all time. At my number 9 spot, I have The Jeffersons. The Jeffersons go all the way back to the 70s. From 1975 through 1985, they aired on CBS. The Jeffersons was a spinoff of All in the Family with Archie Bunker and Judith. So basically, it was George Jefferson and his wife, Wheezy. I think he owned like a laundromat or something. It was something he owned. And then they made enough money to where they can move to a better environment. So basically that was the whole premise of the Jeffersons. That's why the theme song was Moving On Up to the East Side. Well, we finally got a piece of the pie. So the Jeffersons, like, George Jefferson is probably, as far as like individual characters of all time in TV history, George Jefferson may be top 10. With him and Archie Bunker going back and forth, that was like great TV. You're not going to see that type of TV anymore because people are so sensitive nowadays. But back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, when TV was real, when you can talk about real stuff and say things that can push the envelope, But like I said, you can't really do that nowadays because everybody go get on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and cry about it and complain about stuff. But yeah, so I got Good Times as in my number 9 spot of best black sitcoms of all time. I said Good Times, I meant to say The Jeffersons. So at my number 8 spot, I am going to go with A Different World. Now I got a lot to say about A Different World. The Different World could have easily been top 5 for me. But I feel like it's other black shows that's more legendary than A Different World. So I got to put it at like number 8. But The Different World was really supposed to be based around a white student's experience going to an HBCU. So Marissa Tomei, if you remember in season 1, it started with Lisa Bonet's character, Denise Huxtable, going off to college at Hillman. But then Lisa Bonet ended up getting pregnant by Lenny Kravitz and had Zoe Kravitz. So they didn't like the premise of having Lisa Bonet pregnant on stage, on set, especially being that like the Cosby Show is trying to show like traditional family values, and she was, I don't know if her and Lenny Kravitz are married. I don't know if they were married or if they ever got married or anything. So Bill Cosby, they say, didn't want that being shown. So instead of Lisa Bonet being pregnant on A Different World, she took a break and came back to like the Cosby Show after she had the baby. And her character was just like removed from A Different World. And then Marissa Tomei's character was actually removed also, which I feel like that would have been a good, because you need that type of interact. Like, you need to see it from both perspectives. A white student going to an HBCU and a black student going to an HBCU and how they interact. I felt like they should have kept Marissa Tomei on there, but they ended up bringing in like they brought in I cannot think of her real name. The one that played Freddie. I don't know why I can't think of her real name right now. Oh, Cree Summer. They brought in Cree Summer as Freddie. They brought in some other actors and actresses. But A Different World dealt with so many. Like, A Different World probably, if we talking black sitcoms, I don't know if they're in it. I think A Different World ended up getting canceled because during like they showed the episode about like the LA riots with the Rodney King verdict, and NBC didn't want them to show it, but they was like, forget it, we go show it anyway. And I don't think NBC liked that, so they ended up getting canceled. I think, I may be wrong about that, but I thought that's what happened. But A Different World was one of the first shows to deal with like talking about AIDS and HIV. They talked about sexual assault, domestic abuse, gun violence. Like, A Different World just touched on racism, like colorism. A Different World touched on everything. I feel like if we talking about black TV shows, that's the one show that talked about everything. The episode with Whoopi Goldberg on there and Tisha Campbell was on there, and she talked about how she got HIV from her boyfriend. And then the students didn't even want to be around her and stuff. And then some other students was like, you can't catch HIV just from being around somebody, and it got to be spread through like bodily fluids and blood and stuff like that. But yeah, man, A Different World was definitely ahead of its time. Unfortunately, I could only put it at my number 8 of best black sitcoms of all time. Because again, I feel like the ones that are above it are more legendary. But A Different World definitely is top tier. At number 7, I have Sanford and Son. Red Fox and Damon Wilson. Hey, they did their thing on Sanford and Son, man. Red Fox always talking about some you big dummy, and I'm about to have a heart. Elizabeth, I'm coming to see you, and all that. And this is in the 1972 to 1977, aired on NBC. Sanford and Son, they definitely did their thing on Sanford and Son. That's why I got it at my number 7 spot. At my number 6 spot, I'm gonna go with Family Matters, and I feel like the problem with like it that, and that's exactly how it began. It began about family. That's what the show started about. Steve Urkel was only supposed to be a like 1 or 2 time guest appearance. Like he was just their neighbor. But the audience gravitated so much that they wanted more of Steve Urkel. So I think that's what hurt Family Matters, because it went from being about the family. One of my favorite episodes of Family Matters is when Harriet and Rachel's father comes back after like 40 years. He left when Harriet was like 3 or 2 and Rachel was just an infant. And we never saw him again after that, which is weird. But that's what, and they started with 3 kids and then they ended up with 2. Like Judy just went upstairs and never came back down. Apparently, like her parents wanted her to get paid more or wanted her to get more screen time or something, and the producers didn't want to go with. They like, she's only like 7 years old or something, so they were like, nah, we're not doing that. And then, like I said, if you focus more on the later seasons of Family Matters, you'll notice it went from being about the family to being more about Steve Urkel and his adventures, and Steve Urkel and Stefan Arkell and stuff like that. Like even now, Jaleel White just had like some interviews because he's trying to sell a book and all that. And like he what was it, Joe Marie Payton is the one that played Harriet Winslow. He's talking about something. He not about to go back and forth with no older woman arguing with her and stuff. Because supposedly they were supposed to do like a revival of Family Matters, but he said he didn't want to do it. And I just feel like Jaleel White got typecast. Like once people love you for one thing, it's hard for them to not see you in that role. And that's what happened with Jaleel White. Kind of like what happened with Alfonso Ribeiro with Carlton Banks on Fresh Prince. But Alfonso has starred in other things, and even right now he doing America's Funniest Home Videos. So, but like other than Family Matters, you really don't really know Jaleel White from that many things other than Family Matters. But I just feel like Family Matters would have been much better. You can keep Steve Urkel, but they shouldn't have made him the focus. The topic of the show is Family Matters, not Steve Urkel matters. And I feel like that's what really doomed Family Matters. But that's why I got him at number 6. Now we're about to get into my top 5 black sitcoms of all time. At number 5, I have Good Times. This is, and the thing about Good Times, Esther Roll, they wanted her basically in the beginning to be a single mother raising kids. And she was like, no, I'm not going to do that. You're not going to have me be portrayed as a single mother raising multiple kids by myself. Give me a husband. So that's when you get James Evans. And then unfortunately, James Evans died like later on through the series. And it was never the same as that. And that's when we really got a notice that like a young Janet Jackson. Remember when her mom burnt her with the iron and used to abuse her and stuff? Jimmy J.J. Walker, like Good Times was just an all around. Even though they were struggling, the show was about a family struggling to make ends meet. Basically, that's what the song with keeping your head above water, making your way. I think it say making your way over time. Temporary layoffs, like that's what it was about, surviving. Basically, they were living in the ghetto and they were trying to work their way out of the ghetto. JJ Walker was doing his painting, he was painting and stuff like that. Michael was doing his thing. Florida Evans, Thelma, like they all had their own thing that they were doing. That's why I have them at number 5 on my all-time black sitcoms list. At the number 4 spot, I'm going to go with Living Single. Queen Latifah and whoever, like, the theme song for Living Single is hands down one of the greatest theme songs of all time. In the 90s kind of world, and I'm glad I got my girl. That was the name. That was supposed to be the name. The original name was My Girls. But then Fox decided to change it to Living Single. And a lot of people bring up the fact that Living Single was one of the first shows to where it's centered around a group of friends living their everyday lives before Friends came out. So that's why you'll hear a lot of people say that Friends copied Living Single. Both were great shows. It just depends on which one you like. But yeah, originally Living Single was supposed to be called My Girls, and then Fox changed it to Living Single. I guess that's why in the theme song it says in a 90 kind of world, and I'm glad I got my girls. But yeah, Living Single was definitely a top tier black sitcom of all time. It was just about a group of friends who lived everyday lives with regular jobs and just dealt with it. It was basically like Seinfeld, but a black version of Seinfeld. So you can say, like, if people want to argue that Friends copied Living Single, you can argue that Living Single copied Friends. Living Single copied Seinfeld if you're gonna want to go that route. Because I think Seinfeld came out in like 1989. I think Seinfeld was from like 89 to 98. But anyway, I got Living Single as my as my number 4 black sitcom of all time. Now we're getting into top 3, which I feel like most people, especially black people, can universally agree that these 3 should be the top 3. Now, the order may be different for some people. Because I originally got this idea because I saw like Nick Cannon and a bunch of comedians, they just posted on Instagram. They were like, what's the top 5 best black sitcoms of all time? And they had these 3 because like everybody can agree with that these are the top 3. But I felt like 5 because I feel like it was so many great black sitcoms that you can't just limit it to 5. So I was going to do 10. But then I was like, man, maybe 15. Then before I know it, I ended up with 30. So at the number 3 spot, I am going to go with Fresh Prince of Bel-Air at my number 3 spot. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was a great show. It was very well written. They had a young Will Smith, James Avery, Alfonso Ribeiro, I can't think of her name. Parsons. I can't think of her first name. Tatiana Ali. Janet Hubert. Like, it was just... Fresh Prince is just legendary for their writing, their guest. It ran its course. It wasn't gonna last forever, but yeah. So that's why I have Fresh Prince as my number 3 all-time black sitcom of all time. At the number 2 spot, I am going to go with Martin. Martin is probably the funniest. Like, comedy is subjective. Like, everybody not gonna laugh at the same thing. But I feel like most people will agree that Martin is probably the funniest black sitcom of all time. I don't have it number 1. It's the greatest black sitcom of all time. I got it at number 2 because I think we all know who number 1 is. But Martin had, like, for Martin to have ended how many years ago? Like 22 years ago, 32 years ago, whatever. And for people to still be talking about Martin has so many different like characters and legendary scenes, like the New Jack City scene when Bruh Man stole his CD player. Like, it's just and unfortunately Thomas Ford has passed away, so they wanted to do like a reboot for Martin, but Without Thomas Ford, it won't be the same as Tommy. Without Tommy, I mean. But Martin Lawrence, Tisha Campbell, Tashina Arnold, Cole Anthony, like it was just Thomas Ford. What's Garrett? I forgot his name. Garrett, the one that plays Stan. I forgot his real name. But yeah, man, Martin was just so legendary. I still, whenever clips of Martin just pop up on my timeline, I gotta watch them. But before we get to the number one black sitcom of all time, I am going to give some honorable mentions that I wish could have been in my top 30, but I just couldn't put them in my top 30. Tyler Perry's House of Pain that aired on TBS from 2007 to 2012 and brought it back, and it's still on right now from 2020, presently on BET. The Hugleys with D.L. Hughley and Elise Neal. That's So Raven, man, this was prime Raven Simone. This was Raven Simone in her prime. The Neighborhood, which is currently on CBS right now with Cedric the Entertainer and Tashina Arnold. Half and Half with Essence Atkins that aired on UPN. The Cosby, which a lot of people forget, Bill Cosby had another show called Cosby that aired on CBS in 1996 to 2000. Everybody Hates Chris. Like, I watched the clips of Everybody Hates Chris, but I really didn't, cause like I didn't like the character. The character used to make me so mad, so I really wasn't that much of a fan of Everybody Hates Chris. The Royal Family with like Red Fox, Naya Rivera, Lorenz Tate. It probably, and Della Reese, it probably would have lasted way more seasons, but Red Fox ended up having a heart attack on set, and then he ended up dying, so they only had one season of the Royal Family. What else? All of Us with like Tony Rock and Dwayne Martin and Lisa Ray McCoy and Elise Neal. What else? Amen with I remember Amen with Rollo and Sherman Hemsley. Like, Rollo used to have me cracking up. But yeah, that's my honorable mention. Now, for the number one best black sitcom of all time, it has got to be the legendary Cosby Show. So the Cosby Show, it started out with only 3 kids. It was really just Denise, Theo, and Rudy. Well, 4 kids. Denise, Vanessa, Theo, and Rudy. Then somehow after like the pilot, they added in Sandra. I hated Sandra. I hated Sandra's character so much. She was so annoying. Like the rest of the children I could deal with, but Sandra's character was so annoying. Claire was definitely the best character on the show, but Sandra's character was so annoying. Oh my God. All Sandra did was complain. Vanessa just kept Claire and Cliff. I'm thinking of Modern Family. She kept them almost having a heart attack by the stuff she kept doing. But yeah, let me know in the comments. So that's my top 30 black sitcoms of all time. Let me know in the comment section if I missed any, or what you think should be ranked higher, or what would be your list of best black sitcoms of all time. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel, like and comment. More videos coming soon. Trey T out. Peace.